The Woodcutter and the Deer. Chapter 1. Introduction. One day, a young deer was playing in the forest. The sun was shining brightly, and birds were singing. The deer was happy and jumping around, but suddenly it heard a loud noise. It was the sound of wolves howling. The deer felt scared. Deer. Oh no, wolves, I need to run. The deer started running as fast as it could. Behind it, 3 wolves were chasing it. They were big and looked very hungry. Wolf 1. Look, a deer. Wolf 2. Let's catch it for our dinner. Deer. I must find someone to help me. I can't outrun these wolves forever. As the deer ran through the bushes, its heart was beating fast. It felt very afraid, but also hopeful to find help soon. Deer. Please let there be someone who can help me hide. I am too young and too scared. Chapter 2. The Woodcutter's Shelter. The deer kept running, looking for someone to help. Suddenly, it saw a man in the distance. The man was big and strong with a friendly face. He was cutting wood and singing a simple song. Woodcutter. Chop, chop, chop. I cut the wood. Stack, stack, stack. Make it good. The deer slowed down and approached the man cautiously. Deer. Excuse me, sir. Can you help me? There are wolves chasing me. The woodcutter stopped chopping wood and looked at the deer. He was surprised, but wanted to help. Woodcutter. Oh dear, a frightened little deer. Don't worry, I'll help you hide. He quickly looked around and saw a large pile of logs. Woodcutter. Here, hide under these logs. Stay very quiet and don't move. The deer nodded and quickly hid under the logs. It felt safer, but still a bit scary. The woodcutter went back to his work, keeping an eye on the logs. Deer. Thank goodness for this kind man. I hope the wolves don't find me. As the deer hid, it heard the wolves coming closer. It stayed as quiet as a mouse, barely breathing. Wolf 3. Where did that deer go? The tension in the air was thick. The deer waited, hoping the woodcutter's plan would work. Chapter 3. Misdirection. The woodcutter heard the wolves coming closer. He quickly picked up his axe and pretended to work again, singing his song loudly to cover any noises the deer might make. Woodcutter. Chop, chop, chop. I cut the wood. Stack, stack, stack. Make it good. Soon, the wolves arrived where the woodcutter was chopping wood. They looked around, sniffing the air. Wolf 1. Have you seen a deer pass by here? The woodcutter looked at the wolves and shook his head, pointing towards the mountains. Woodcutter. Yes, I saw the deer. It ran very fast towards the mountains. Maybe you can still catch it if you hurry. Wolf 2. Are you sure? It seems like you're hiding something. The woodcutter stood tall, holding his axe. Woodcutter. I am just a man working in the forest. I have no reason to lie. The mountains that way. The wolves looked at each other, and then at the direction the woodcutter was pointing. They decided to trust him and started running towards the mountains. Wolf 3. Let's go. We can't waste any time. As the wolves disappeared into the distance, the woodcutter sighed in relief. He peeked under the logs to check on the deer. Woodcutter. They're gone now. You can stay here until it's safe. The deer peeked out from under the logs, its eyes wide with gratitude. Deer. Thank you so much for helping me. I was so scared. Woodcutter. You're safe now. Rest here as long as you need. The deer felt a deep sense of relief and gratitude, knowing it was safe because of the kind woodcutter's quick thinking and bravery. Chapter 4. The Demand. After some time, the deer felt safer and stepped out from under the logs. The forest was quiet, and the wolves were gone. The deer stretched its legs and looked up at the woodcutter with big, thankful eyes. Deer. I feel much better now, thanks to you. But I am very hungry from all the running. The woodcutter nodded, understanding the deer's plight. Woodcutter. I understand. You need some food after such a scare. The deer noticed a basket of apples near the woodcutter's work area. It remembered the sweet smell of apples from its wanderings in the forest. Deer. Could I have some apples from your basket? They look very tasty, and I haven't eaten all day. The woodcutter hesitated. He brought those apples from home for his lunch. Woodcutter. Well, I plan to eat those apples myself. They are all I have for my lunch today. The deer felt desperate and a bit bold after the ordeal. Deer. If you don't give me the apples, I might have to eat from your garden. I need to eat. The woodcutter was taken aback by the deer's change in tone. Woodcutter. I saved you from the wolves, and now you threaten to eat my garden? The deer realized it might have spoken too harshly. Deer. I'm sorry, but I am really hungry. Maybe we can find another way. The woodcutter thought for a moment, and then had an idea. Woodcutter. Let's find someone wise in the forest to decide what's fair. They can tell us if I should share my apples with you or not. The deer agreed, feeling a little guilty for its earlier harsh words. Deer. Yes, let's ask someone else. I want to be fair too. Together, they decided to find a wise animal in the forest who could judge their situation fairly, hoping to resolve the matter without any more conflict. Chapter 5. Seeking Fairness. The woodcutter and the deer walked through the forest, looking for someone wise to help them solve their disagreement about the apples. The first animal they met was the woodcutter's old horse, grazing near a clearing. Woodcutter. Hello, old friend. We need your help. The deer is very hungry after escaping the wolves, and it wants some of my apples. I plan to eat these apples myself. What do you think we should do? The old horse looked up from grazing and thought for a moment. Horse. Well, I work hard every day pulling logs for you, and sometimes I feel you don't give me enough to eat. Maybe the deer has a point. If you share your apples with the deer, it's only fair. The deer looked relieved to hear the horse's opinion, but the woodcutter was not fully convinced. Woodcutter. Let's ask another animal too. We need more opinions. Next, they approached a rabbit nibbling grass near the bushes. Deer. Mr. Rabbit, can you help us? I'm very hungry and the woodcutter has apples. He saved me from wolves, but now I need food. Should he share his apples with me? The rabbit twitched its nose and thought about it. Rabbit. I've seen how the woodcutter sometimes forgets to leave food for the animals here. I think he should share. Sharing is kind. The woodcutter sighed, feeling outnumbered but still unsure. Woodcutter. I understand both of you think sharing is right, but let's ask one more animal to be sure. So, they decided to find one more animal to consult. They wanted to make sure the decision was fair and just for both of them. As they walked on, the woodcutter thought about the importance of fairness, and the deer hoped for a chance to eat soon. Chapter 6. The Owl's Court. The woodcutter and the deer continued their search through the forest, looking for another wise animal to help them decide what to do. Finally, they came across an old owl perched on a tall tree. The owl was known to be very wise and often helped solve disputes among the forest creatures. Woodcutter. Ms. Owl, we need your help. This deer was being chased by wolves, and I hid it under logs to save it. Now it is very hungry and wants some of my apples, but those are all I have for my lunch. What should we do? The owl blinked its large eyes and looked from the woodcutter to the deer. Owl. I need to understand this better. Deer, can you show me where you were hiding and explain how you asked for the apples? The deer led the owl to the spot with the logs and explained how scared and hungry it had felt. Deer. I was so scared. And after the wolves left, I felt very hungry. I saw the woodcutter's apples and asked for some since I have nothing else to eat. The owl listened carefully and then turned to the woodcutter. Owl. Woodcutter, can you show me the apples and where you were working? The woodcutter showed the owl his basket of apples and his work area. Owl. I see. This is a difficult decision. On one hand, the deer is alive because of your kindness. On the other hand, it is only fair to share what you have, especially in an emergency. However, demanding something in return for being saved does not seem right either. The owl thought deeply, then spoke. Owl. I suggest a compromise. Woodcutter, you should share some of your apples with the deer, but not all. Deer, you should understand that the woodcutter also needs food for his hard work. This way, both of you give a little and gain a little. Both the woodcutter and the deer nodded, agreeing with the wise owl's solution. Deer. Thank you, Ms. Owl. I understand and appreciate your wise words. I'm sorry for being demanding. Woodcutter. Thank you for helping us see what's fair. I'm glad we could find a way to help each other. Chapter 7. The Fox's Trial. After thanking the wise owl, the woodcutter and the deer continued through the forest, feeling content with their agreement. However, the deer still felt a bit uneasy and wanted to make sure their solution was truly fair. They decided to ask one more forest creature for their opinion. They came across a clever fox, sunning itself on a rock. The fox was known for its sharp mind and quick thinking. Deer. Mr. Fox, can you help us? We've had a disagreement about some apples. The woodcutter saved me from wolves, and I was very hungry. We asked the owl, and she suggested a compromise, but I want to make sure it's really fair. What do you think? The fox raised its head, interested in the story. Fox. Tell me more about this compromise. Woodcutter. I shared some of my apples with the deer, but not all, because I need food too. We both agreed, but we want to know if you think it's fair. The fox thought for a moment, then looked at them both with a sly smile. Fox. It sounds like you both have valid points. However, it's important to ensure that no one takes advantage of the other. Let me ask you, deer, did you offer anything in return for the apples? Deer. No, I did not. I only asked because I was hungry. Fox. And Woodcutter, did you feel that it was right to keep some apples for yourself? Woodcutter. Yes, I need to eat too, and I was willing to help without giving everything away. Fox. I believe the owl's decision was wise. True fairness means both sides should give something. Deer, you received help and some food. And Woodcutter, you showed kindness but also took care of your needs. This is how friends should treat each other. Both the deer and the woodcutter nodded, feeling reassured by the fox's words. Deer. Thank you, Mr. Fox. Your words help me feel better about our decision. Woodcutter. I agree. It's good to hear that we acted fairly. Thank you for your insight. Chapter 8. Conclusion. The woodcutter and the deer walked back through the forest, feeling content and reassured about their decision. They talked about how important it is to listen and be fair, even when you are scared or in need. Woodcutter. I learned something today. Sharing and listening are very important. It's good we talked to the owl and the fox. Deer. Yes, I learned that too. I'm grateful for your help and for the food. It's good to solve problems by talking. As they reached the edge of the forest near the woodcutter's home, the woodcutter gave some of the apples to the deer. The deer stopped and looked at the woodcutter with warm eyes. Deer, thank you again for everything. I hope we can be friends, even though we started with a problem. Woodcutter, of course we can be friends. You're always welcome in this part of the forest. The deer nodded happily and turned to leave. Before it left, it gave one last look at the woodcutter. Deer, goodbye, my friend. Take care of yourself. Woodcutter, goodbye. Take care. And remember, you have a friend here whenever you need one. The deer bounded away into the forest, feeling safe and happy. The woodcutter watched it go. Feeling good about helping the deer and making a new friend, he returned to his work, singing his song again, but this time with a bigger smile on his face. Woodcutter, chop, 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 I cut the wood. Share, 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 making it good. The story ends with both the woodcutter and the deer having learned the value of fairness, kindness, and friendship. They both knew that no matter what challenges come, understanding and generosity can create lasting bonds and peace. The end. The language level of the story is B1, intermediate, according to the CEFR. Here's why. Vocabulary. The text uses a range of vocabulary, including some more complex words like misdirection, nuisance, and compromise. However, the vocabulary is not overly technical or specialized, and most words are familiar to intermediate learners. Grammar. The text features a mix of simple, compound, and complex sentences. There are some examples of subordinate clauses, relative pronouns, and conditional sentences, which are typical of B1 level grammar. Text structure. The text is divided into chapters, each with a clear topic and structure. The narrative is easy to follow, with a clear sequence of events and minimal use of abstract concepts. Examples: the deer felt scared and jumped around. Simple sentence with basic vocabulary. The woodcutter heard the wolves coming closer and quickly picked up his axe, pretending to work again, singing his song loudly to cover any noises the deer might make. Complex sentence with subordinate clause and more advanced vocabulary. The story is B1 because of the following reasons. Uses a range of vocabulary, but not excessively complex or technical. Features a mix of sentence structures, including some more complex ones. Has a clear and easy-to-follow narrative structure. Does not require a high level of abstract thinking or nuanced language understanding. Overall, the text is suitable for intermediate learners who want to improve their reading comprehension and vocabulary in English. Here are 10 words and phrases from the story, explained with their meanings and examples from both the story and real-life contexts. 1. Chop, meaning to cut something into pieces with repeated sharp blows. Story example: chop, 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 I cut the wood. Real-life example: I need to chop these vegetables for the soup. 2. Grateful, meaning feeling thankful and showing appreciation. Story example: I'm grateful for your help and for the food. Real-life example: I'm grateful for the support from my friends during tough times. 3. Fair, meaning free from bias, dishonesty, or injustice. Story example: we need more opinions to be sure it's fair. Real-life example: the teacher made a fair decision when she gave everyone an extra day to study for the test. 4. Resolve, meaning to find a solution or settle a dispute. Story example: hoping to resolve the matter without any more conflict. Real-life example: we need to resolve these issues before the project deadline. 5. Compromise, meaning an agreement made between two parties where each gives up part of their demand. Story example: the owl suggested a compromise. Real-life example: we reached a compromise where both of us agreed to share the chores equally. 6. Judge, meaning a person appointed to decide in a contest or matter of dispute. Story example: let's find someone wise in the forest who could judge our situation fairly. Real-life example: the judge in the courtroom will decide the outcome of the case. 7. Wise, meaning having or showing experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Story example: they decided to find a wise animal in the forest who could judge their situation fairly. Real-life example: my grandmother is very wise. She often gives great advice. 8. Disagreement, meaning a lack of consensus or approval. Story example: we've had a disagreement about some apples. Real-life example: there was a disagreement about where to go for dinner, so we decided to vote. 9. Content, meaning in a state of peaceful happiness. Story example: feeling content and reassured about their decision. Real-life example: after a long day of work, I felt content to just sit on the couch and read. 10. Reassured, meaning to say or do something to remove the doubts and fears of someone. Story example: feeling content and reassured about their decision. Real-life example: the pilot reassured the passengers that we would be landing shortly and safely. The story offers several valuable lessons that can resonate with readers of all ages. Here are 3 key learnings from the narrative. 1. The importance of gratitude and reciprocity. Throughout the story, the interaction between the woodcutter and the deer highlights the importance of expressing gratitude and the expectation of reciprocal behavior. The woodcutter saves the deer, expecting nothing in return, but the deer feels a moral obligation to ensure fairness in sharing resources. This teaches readers that acknowledging help and reciprocating in kind ways is vital in maintaining healthy relationships and building trust among individuals. 2. The value of compromise and fair resolution. As the disagreement about the apples unfolds, the characters seek advice from various forest animals to find a fair solution. The wise owl proposes a compromise that balances the needs of both the woodcutter and the deer. This part of the story illustrates the effectiveness of compromise in resolving conflicts and the importance of considering both parties' needs to achieve a mutually beneficial outcome. It's a valuable lesson in problem-solving and conflict resolution. 3. The power of seeking multiple perspectives. The woodcutter and the deer do not settle with the initial opinions they receive. Instead, they seek multiple perspectives to ensure the decision is fair and just. By consulting the horse, rabbit, owl, and eventually the fox, they gather diverse viewpoints that help them understand the broader implications of their situation. This teaches readers the importance of not rushing to judgment and the value of gathering diverse opinions before making decisions. It highlights how different perspectives can contribute to a more comprehensive understanding of a situation, leading to wiser and more informed decisions. These lessons are woven into the story in a way that is accessible and engaging for readers, making it a useful tool for teaching fundamental values and life skills. This story and voiceover have been provided by English Made Easy, Learn Through Stories. Copying or re-uploading is strictly prohibited.